chat while we're getting rolling. Roger Schrader, good to see you. If you're just now coming in, share this out. Chris Abel's good to see you. Share this out. Chris is my mod on Facebook. So, yeah, share this out if you're just now coming in. We're going to be starting up TikTok soon. The war will begin with the trolls. You don't never know what the trolls are going to do. And then we'll go into the podcast and we'll start talking about today's news. Um, and the podcast, I'm still figuring it out. I know last time I promised we were going to have sections of the news on there while we were talking, but for some reason it didn't upload. So, go figure. And we're going to have screenshots of the TikTok on there too of people coming in and going live with us. So you'll want to watch the video cast of that if we're able to get it uploaded. It's always a maybe or an if. We don't never really know. I'm just a redneck down here in the holler of Alabama, state line, Tri-County area. Only subscribers can comment in my life. That don't make no sense. I didn't set that. How do I change it? Jay Will, good to see you, buddy. I'm experiencing an abnormal amount of issues today. Said something about only subscribers could comment. How you doing, Ryan? Good to see you. I'm not all about that. Share this out if you're just now coming in. We're glad to have you. Hit that like button. Let us know what you think in the comments of the show while we're recording our podcast. Again, if you're not following the Chaos Cast on whatever podcast platform that you are listening on, what are you doing, man? Why ain't you started following this shit? This can cut out at any moment. You'll miss it all. But you can always go back and watch the rest of it here. And a lot of times I'll upload on YouTube. So we got to send one to Sarah Lou. Let's see here. Caveman, Robert. Who else? I've sent one to Danny. Sent one. Cryptid Science. Big Country, Dirt Lord. Prep Money. We'll send one to him. Liz Ventures. Ain't seen her in a while. Dr. Kenny, we'll send one to him too. Again, Dr. Kenny makes my shirts. You can go through our link to Iron Wolf Distributors and you can get you a Happy Gun shirt. In a world full of gun negativity, you can spread gun positivity with that dementedly happy gun sublimation printed onto your shirt. And these shirts fit great. I wear them myself. I got one in there. I love it. I should have put it on if I'm going to do an ad for it. But yes, Dr. Kenny, Iron Wolf Distributors. Go to the website, navigation, and you're going to find, or actually it's in my tabs down there on my links, and you will be able to find your own Happy Gun shirt. And go check out Ready Wise. Go check them out and Pack Fresh USA. And then go to our Amazon store and get you one of these Cold Steel Axes. That's the spill for today on TikTok. Good to have you in here. Hit that share button. We're going to be talking about the demise of Hollywood. Did you ever think you would see that? Growing up as a kid in the 90s, I was not allowed to go to the movies because I was raised in a heavily Pentecostal family. And at that time, hey, you go to the movies, that supports them bad movies, them rated R movies. And that was my dad's mentality. But then one day he wanted to see the Hulk, and he was pastoring the church, and I was going, and he said, I'm going to go with you. I want to see the Hulk. And we went and watched it, and some grandmothers that goes to our church's grandson was there watching it with us. And this is old. This theater's closed down by now. Old 2-screen theater in Scottsboro, Alabama. And he said, I'm afraid he's seen me. He's going to tell his grandma. I said, well, if they come at you, Daddy, they're going to have to explain why their grandkids is in there watching them old movies. And he said, you're right. You're right about that. And after that, we never stopped going to he never stopped going to movies, after that. I mean, that's about, heck, when I was a kid, y'all understand, I couldn't wear pants. I mean, I couldn't wear nothing but pants. This is the middle of summer, and I was wearing jeans. I still do it now to this day that I'm older just because the stuff I get into outside, I'm always working, so I wear work clothes. But, I could not wear shorts. And I still don't understand the logic of it. I love my daddy. But I couldn't wear shorts to gym class They said, well, you can wear jogging pants, but it was so hot wearing jogging pants to gym class in middle school when they started this. And so my mom talked him into why don't we just cut them down to the length you're comfortable with, Dennis, because his name's Dennis. I'm Dennis Jr. He's Dennis Senior. And I said, yeah, because I'm burning up out there. So yeah, they cut the jogging pants down. Somehow that was okay. I don't know. And then one day I slip out of the house in some green shorts. My mama got me, trying to talk Daddy into let me wear shorts. I go over to my friends. I'm like, man, I'm wearing shorts. And they just kind of looked at me like, you what? So what? And I'm thinking in my mind, do y'all not understand how revolutionary this is that I'm wearing shorts? My dad's never let, that's a sin to wear shorts in my house. My dad don't even know I'm over here wearing these shorts. But yeah, he's mellowed out a lot. My dad came out of a lot of crazy stuff, so that's why he got real strict. And that's what I see a lot of times with people that come to know the Lord, get in church. They they get a little overzealous. I've never stopped my children from wearing shorts, except in the winter, because it's just not good parenting. Unless it's a good warm southern winter day, my kids still wear shorts outside in the winter. When I don't know, when I'm asleep during the day, they're all older. They go out in the woods, axes, knives, build forts, come back. I'm getting ate up by bugs. I said, well, probably because you're wearing pants. You're not wearing pants out into the bushes, and you're getting chiggers and no-see-ums and all these things on you, and they're digging under your skin and biting you. I don't know why, but that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes, folks. I think I might have to restart Clapper because it is not going out, and for some reason it does that to me. Clapper does that to me now. If I put a title on it, it won't let me go live. Like, it just holds me at 0, and then I go live, and somehow everybody comes in. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the demise of Hollywood today. So again, share this out if you're just now coming in. Get this out to your friends. Get everybody involved. Let's get their opinions on this. Again, we got our moderators in the comments, and I'll just say this: don't get abusive, don't get stupid. We don't care about your opinion. We don't care about your politics, because I just don't care about politics no more. I do think President Biden is under some severe elder abuse, but that might be karma, with all the things that he's done in his years, and but that's it. But again, I'm not, taking a political side. I'm just saying Joe Biden's a piece of dirt. But anyways, maybe I'll get the trolls stirred up. But yeah, we're going to be going live. Who is asking to come up? That's old Mike. We got Mike 83 in here. Mike 83. We're going to bring him up real before I start the podcast and see what he's doing. And get a little Trump dad in here on us. Mike, did you accept that invite? How you doing, Ricochet? Good to see you. I sent you an invite. Are you not going to come up here and see me? Redneck Woman, good to see you. Mike Lipcomb, good to see you. If you didn't know it, Hollywood is dying. We're going to be talking about that today on the Chaos Cast once we get started up. David Spangler, good to see you. There we go. Maybe I'll let him come up now. 1 Minute Herbs. Oh, this is a big old big guy that's coming up here. Well, I've accepted. I've invited. No one's accepting. All right, we'll bring up Ada. See what Ada's doing. So I keep inviting people, and then nobody comes up. I guess they're hitting that button by accident. It'll come up right in the middle of the podcast, and it'll just start talking. But it's good to have you in here. Good to see you in here. Maybe TikTok's just throwing that out there. Who knows? There's some random odd shadiness that TikTok may be trying to fool around with some kind of algorithm. But we're glad to have you here again. We're just trying to get the pre-show rolling, trying to get everybody in, trying to get it going, share it out, get our friends in here, get like-minded individuals in here, people that are just sick of the stupid crap in this world and the politics. But because I can, how effing dare you make me come here twice? My excuses is Clapper, Kev. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been complaining about these same glitches like I have since the beginning. All right, we'll share that out. We're going to bring Kev up for a few seconds before I start the podcast. Let's see here. Manage. manage your friendship. Man, I'm so rusty on Clapper. I'm gonna bring Ducky up. Why is it not letting me bring you up? Oh my gosh. Kev, what have you done? There we go. He's got a, all right. Y'all are gonna get to hear the sweet, smooth Australian accent of my friend Kev. What are you doing, Kevin?
I'm not even sure I want to talk to you right now. You made me come in here twice.
It wasn't even showing anybody there. It was saying 0 up there.
Gave it more than 10. No excuses, buddy. I seen what you did. You gave it 10 seconds and then you dipped back out the door.
We'll get you on that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So this is my friend Kevin from Australia.
I look like you.
Don't
fucking point at me like
that. What you been doing?
Yeah, mine's dyslexia. Just putting around, doing the normal shit that people do in their retirement. What have you been doing with yourself?
Man, working like a fool, man. Just working crazy all the time. I go to work at the mine, and I come home trying to get all this stuff rolling. It's working though. I'm finally got.
You're finally getting somewhere.
Yeah. Finally, after all these years of failure, you watching me fail. Nah, I mean, I'm getting.
I haven't necessarily been watching you fail. I've been watching you get fatter and lazier sometimes.
No.
Depending what you're doing, but I haven't watched you fail yet.
Calling me fat. Every time he comes on here, he calls me fat.
Look, it's just more for me to hold on to later, all right?
I wasn't expecting it to turn that way. Yeah, the good Lord is blessing us. I'm getting a lot of outreach for ads, getting a lot of outreach for, I'm getting gear companies. I finally got my Amazon store up. It's all finally starting to come to a head, Not making a ton, but I'm able to do more with that, with my business and stuff. So.
Well, that's certainly a bonus. The only thing I'm concerned about is who in their right mind would want you to do an ad?
Well, I don't know, man. I just take the money and I do the ads. You'll get to see these 2 that I'm putting up here pretty soon. Yeah, it's a sleep app. Mental tracker. And Jess has been telling me I snore. So, there's that. And so I done the mental tracker app, and she was right.
If she ever gets sick of hearing you snore, just tell her to roll over with a bit of 2x4. That'll fix it for a couple of hours.
I think we're close to that point. She says that I eat loudly, that I snore loudly. So I can't win asleep or awake right now. So,
Is it just me, or have I managed to teach your wife over the last couple of years how to really give you shit?
She already knew. You just upped her game, I guess. I don't never catch a break from nobody.
So what you're telling me is your wife did not like being upstaged by me.
You did give her some competition, I guess.
Well, if it's increased that much and you can't do any good when you're awake or asleep, clearly I've done something right.
She's in there laughing right now. She loves you because you just give me heck all the time.
Yeah. Somebody has to, mate. Somebody has to.
Let me ask you something. Now, I'm going to be talking about kind of 2 different things. We're going to be talking about Hollywood collapsing because of streaming, but also we're going to be kind of talking about the Freedom Song stuff. Now, you're pretty good with technology, and computers and whatnot. But I'm not going to say you're a hacker, but maybe you are. But have you ever run across these pedophile networks online? Like, have you ever dealt with? I know you're against it as much as I am. What is your thoughts on that? Do you think that these guys are operating very highly organized, like they say, or?
Look, it takes a great deal of brains and I can't believe I'm actually going to say it. It takes a great deal of brains to hide your fucking shit like that all over the fucking internet before you get caught out on it.
So,
but it takes a great deal of stupidity to also get caught as quickly as they do.
mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it. I do agree that there is a whole heap of that shit floating around online. It's even been here on Clapper.
Yeah.
It is not a hidden.
Y'all had that guy come into a live or something, didn't he? And he was squalling about, being depressed. Turned out he was a convicted pedophile and he had just got caught or something.
Okay, so my profile picture used to be just a picture of me and my 9-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Right? When she was 9, that picture was taken. The amount of people that would come in to my room and say, "Oh, where's that pretty girl? Can we see the pretty girl?"
That's insane. That's crazy.
I just sit there and I'm like, did you say that about my 9-year-old daughter? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. I mean,
they are everywhere.
Well, I mean, first off, I don't understand that attraction. I don't. I really don't understand. It's got to be a mental disorder. But what I mean, the audacity to come into a parent, and now what we're seeing these days, where it's like I call them groomers. They're hijacking the LGBTQ movement, and they're going about saying, basically trying to push this on kids, sexualize kids. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, and I feel like this is where you got to take your stand. I'm not worried about politics or nothing like that, because this is where they're trying to destroy our future.
So I don't really care who I offend by saying this. Can we just call it the alphabet soup? Because before we know it, there's going to be E, F, G, H, I, J, K. I really don't give a fuck. That's people's choices. I don't need that shit.
Yeah, they do what they want. Leave my kids alone.
But that you're not wrong though. You're not wrong. It's everywhere. It affects everything. It's a part of this. It's a part of TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You fucking name it. You'll find this shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only people that don't see it are the people that are too stupid to open their fucking eyes and see what's actually in front of them. I
feel like that it is countermanded to whatever their agendas have been, to hold government office and whatnot. Because I'm seeing, Frank, Info Savage.
Yeah.
Okay. Now he's going out and fighting this. He's working with parents and going into the schools and fighting this. And that has been, I'm proud of him. I got his back, because he can go in and say things, and they can't use their woke narrative. They can't really use their woke narrative on me, but the media can't feed into it with him.
Well, the thing is, and I'm going to be the first person to say it, the thing is, only so many people are going to open their eyes. If you can't get people to open their eyes, the message falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you want to say it, no matter how far and wide you want to spread it, it's only going to be effective if people open their eyes and listen.
You're right. And we're in what people would call, because I feel like because of people like us that get on social media and we talk about these things, I feel like we're seeing more open their eyes than have prior, because the average person is being exposed to this ideology. They're seeing the news where they're saying they're doing their chant, "We're coming after your kids. We're coming for your kids." I don't know if you heard that. And it's video footage of these people doing it. Now, somebody could argue deep fake, but they're not trying to deny they did it. And then we see
that's because they're not hiding.
You're not really too worried about politics. I'm not worried about politics. You're especially not worried about American politics. But when you see the Biden administration come out and say, LGBTQ community, we stand with you. These are our kids. Now, hey, how are you standing with LGBT community and that's involving my kids? I don't understand that. I really don't. I don't.
See, it doesn't See, that's not pushed onto my kids.
Yeah.
I can't relate to that on your end.
So Australia doesn't allow that to
you
go.
You don't want me to talk about America.
Well, in the essence of what it started as, probably about the same as what Australia started as. People that just want to be left alone. We're out in the back of nowhere. But what it's become now.
I have been on my high horse about Americans for the last fucking week.
I've seen it.
Believe me when I say this. What?
I've seen some of the I've seen what Rogue was saying. Yeah, she's getting aggravated with people talking about Australia, but I mean I understand what she's saying. I wouldn't be. There's a lot of people that would go off about somebody saying something America, but then they're saying they're doing the same thing to y'all, and they can't understand why y'all are aggravated. So.
Okay, so for the last week, I've been hearing how great America is, all right?
It was,
I'll
put
this to you straight. I'll just give everyone a quick PSA right now. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you fucking dislike me. I just tell it how it is because that's the way it's put in front of me. For the last week, I've been listening to so many different Americans tell me how great America is and how much better America is than Australia. And the only thing I keep coming back to when I hear everyone going, oh, stuff needs to change, this needs to change, that needs to change, we're going to make this change. Well, you fuckers can't stand together. You'd rather fight each other than actually get shit done. And the only thing that I ever see anybody do is post a fucking meme or put up a video. What your memes gonna do? What are your videos gonna do? What are they gonna change? They're not gonna change anything. Not a thing. So when it comes to Americans for the last week, I'm gonna be the first person to sit here. I'll put my hand up. I'll say I know 2% Americans across social media actually are decent people that don't have their heads.
I do not know what happened.
The other 98% of Americans that I run into, they're getting stuck so far up their ass that they wouldn't know which way the sun is setting or rising.
Yeah, and this has been a thing I've been dealing with politically for, when I changed politics, I had a lot of people get aggravated with me, like, you need to go vote, yada, yada. And then we started watching what was happening around us, the way people were dividing up. And then I started seeing the conservatives that I've been friends with for years doing the same thing they were talking about. I'm like, y'all are all doing the same thing, and you're all being played. Our government is corrupt as heck. It's not the government we started with. I mean, when you got a president in office whose son has been profiting off of his power, whether he knew it or not, it's when Nancy Pelosi's got all this money. I'm not just talking Democrats. When you got Democrats, Republicans, that's not a great country. That's a great nation that's been taken to the cleaners and being robbed. That's what's happening, and I don't know what to do with it.
I have a serious question for you. What is your first thought when you hear a fellow American say, "We live in the land of the free"?
We ain't got too much freedom.
Your first thought when you hear somebody say, "We live in the land of the free. We are the free country." What's your first thought?
Think about all these people that tell me what I can and can't do with my property. I kind of think it's turning into a lie. I mean, we can say a lot of things, but then they'll just send their CIA infiltrated mob in to get us, from on the woke side, to punish you and get you fired. That's what I think about it. Ain't what it was.
I sit over here in Australia, right? As you know, as a lot of people know, a lot of people know who I am. I will be the first person to sit here and tell you that when we hear somebody over there say, "We live in the land of the free," the only thing that pops to our mind is you live in the land of the free to do as you were fucking told.
Yeah.
Did you know in the last couple of weeks, my friend, I have had several Americans come to me and ask me to Google different information for them because your government actually blocks you from searching it?
Yeah, they work with Google. People don't realize that the CIA, the FBI, these former federal agents get jobs at the companies, and they basically that's what happened with Twitter. They screw with the algorithms and everything where you can't search it.
They're when you're narrow thinking there for a moment. It's not just Google. When they come to me, they tried to search it on every web browser that you have over there, and it's blocked on all of them. See,
I didn't realize that. So it's kind of a shadow. It's a shadow. It's shadow tyranny is what it is. I mean, you don't realize it's happening to you. That is wild because see, I see a lot of people that use DuckDuckGo and they talk about how much more that you can find, but then you hear those same people come back and say, "Hey, DuckDuckGo's censoring this." I don't trust. That's
the black side of the web, the dark side of the web. That is where the dark browser takes you. It takes you to the dark side of the web. And there are a lot of things on the dark side of the web that will get you into a lot of bloody trouble if you don't know where you're looking or what you're clicking on.
Oh, yeah. Now, you use Tor. Do you use Tor to get into that? Or is there?
I use Tor. I use a Tor browser of forms. I'm not going to tell you the sort of stuff that I can see and go into because,
I don't want.
Well, half of it would probably create nightmares for a lot of fucking people. But
well,
I do. I have fun on the dark web.
Yeah. Well, see, I talk to a lot of. I've come to talk to a lot more hackers now. I'm not like tech savvy, but I'm learning more. But from what I hear, you're exactly right. I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want no. What I see, my kids was watching a YouTube channel and they ordered this box of this surprise box off the dark web, and got like a baby doll with its head stuffed full of something, and then they were worried people were gonna find them. I mean, like, I don't need these people coming after me.
I like that. I actually like that. Talk about adventurous.
That I don't know what the channel was, but they ordered something off the dark website, and they got what they ordered.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Tell them the game. I would not order anything off of the dark web if you paid me.
My kids don't have access to anything but cash. They don't. They go if they get anything digitally offline, it's through us, and we kind of. I know how to go in there and check behind them in ways they don't realize now. I've kind of had to get on there and YouTube and figure things out. So we kind of can figure out what they're doing most of the time. And that, they do have phones, but at the same time where everybody's like, well, you can't let a kid have a phone and yada, yada. You can't turn a kid loose with a phone without supervision.
Well, that's not 100% necessary, right? So if you suspect your kids are up to no good, there are actually apps out there that you can install on their phones and track their entirety of search logs and conversations across every app in every platform off of your own device.
Huh. I've seen some things like that. We got that Life 360 whatever, and we can kind of keep up with where everybody's at.
That tracks their movement, but yes, there are apps that you can install on their phones that they wouldn't even bloody know are there because they work in the background, and it sends every last little bit of information across to your device, your chosen device. You input a password and you can look at everything, what they're talking about, what websites they've been on, who they're interacting with on social media, the whole shebang.
We're talking about being able to see what people are doing. I have found the world's greatest Faraday cage that no one has thought of.
Oh, yeah, go on.
The mine. You go up under a mountain, ain't nobody going to know where you at.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
They'll know when I entered it. But...
Okay, so you know why that's not necessarily true?
Why's that?
Because because if you carry a phone around, even if you go to a mine, that phone is still going to beam off of the nearest service tower.
Yeah.
Every time.
But do you understand what kind of mine I'm talking about? We're not talking about a little mine. We're talking about a mine that...
We're steering away from that.
We're going...
Trying not to expose me here.
We're no, I'm not going to get into that, but what you do with mines. But no, what I'm talking about, our mine goes 3 miles back into the mountain. And so no signals can get out. To find me, you got 3 miles of treacherous terrain on one level, and then you have a second level. And it's pitch dark. The only light you got's the light you got. And there's all kinds of tricks a person can use to mess up people's vision and night vision inside a mine. And when
I know exactly, I know what you're talking about because we have one of the world's largest gold mines here in my town.
Dang.
It's still active below the 9th level, but there are 29 levels to it.
Yeah.
And between each level is 30 meters of distance. So you can imagine how deep 29 levels is when there is 30 meters between each of those 29 levels. And they won't go any further down. They will not dig further down, but they've already estimated with geological search that there is still another $290 billion worth of gold underneath that 29th level.
Dang, man, that's no wonder you retired early. The unique thing about where we live is you have all these caverns. We live in a mountainous region, the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, pretty well. So there's a lot of sinkholes, and so the mines a lot of times will bust into the sinkholes. Sometimes they'll have other openings, natural openings, and that's how they find the lime deposits. So it's mainly lime that they get out of these. So we have a lot of interconnecting sinkholes. There's plenty of places to hide. There's plenty of ways to what they read, not to really basically give them accurate information, because some places don't even have cell towers. We don't even have a cell reception in a good Faraday cage bag. I mean, I feel like they're going to, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like with a Faraday cage bag and a bunch of sinkholes and mines that can interconnect, they're going to have a hard time keeping up where you pop it in and out.
No, you're not wrong. See, this town that I live in is an original gold rush town. It is one of the first gold rush towns established in Australia. This entire town sits on top of a mine.
Oh.
That mine, so you come down, right, on the 11th level, that mine interconnects with another mine on the other side of town. You go down to the 13th level, it interconnects to another mine on the opposite side of town again from the two mines.
You got a city down there.
And I think it's like every 3rd or 4th level, they were explaining to us, is interconnected to a mine in a different direction, no matter where you go. And all underneath this town is all mine shafts and sinkholes. There's been quite a few of them open up in people's front yards and under their driveways, and you just
houses falling. My uncle's got a sinkhole that just appeared in his backyard.
How you doing, Scoot?
Hey, Scoot, it's good to see you. My uncle's got a sinkhole that appeared in his backyard, and he's been trying to fill it, ever since I can remember. So when I was doing scrap metal, I'd go over there and pull. I mean, you just kept pulling stuff. You kept going. And they've been throwing things. It just keeps going, and that's how people have got rid of bodies around here. Keep out of trouble. They'll find a sinkhole. Wells, sinkholes.
The good old days of just taking the body and dumping it at a pig farm.
Yeah. Well, that's something they do too. But yeah. Well, what people don't realize, a lot of towns, a lot of cities in America have these types of things around them, because most of the towns were built around some form of mining, usually, unless it was like lumber they were cutting, and that was later on in America's history. So, we were gold mines. You had coal mines. Appalachia's just riddled with sinkholes and coal mines. So, I mean, that's why.
You'd have a lot of different models. You'd have everything from gold to coal to opal.
Mm-hmm. But let me tell you what they're doing now. They're bringing in these Wi-Fi mesh systems for communication into them, so that they'll be able to track the radios we're using through the Wi-Fi. And we were told that the radios will act like nodes, and we'll be able to keep up with each other in the mine. But also, they'll be able to keep up with us. So if you stop to check something on the truck, you might get a text message, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "I'm over here working on the truck."
Why aren't you moving?
Yeah. Well,
See, the thing a lot of people don't actually realize about mines is if you aren't moving, they're not making money. Mm-hmm. And that's a fact. That's why 9 out of 10 mines, the miners take their lunch down with them, their drinks, everything.
Yep.
And they have it down in the mine. They got 15 minutes. It might take them 37 minutes to climb in and out of the shaft. That's going both ways. That's not acceptable in a mine. So you eat and drink down in the mine on your break, and you go straight back to work.
Hey, I'm gonna turn the podcast on because we got some we always talk about interesting stuff. We're just gonna do this today. We'll go into the news later if you want to stick around. But so if you're just now joining us on the podcast, me and Kevin from Australia, we're just gonna leave that as who he is because I don't know if he wants all his info out there on. But he can wipe it off if he wants to. He's an international hacker of all kinds of sorts. But now
thanks, Dad. It fucking throw me under the bus, mate.
But now we started talking about the pedophile rings that are online, and then we got into the freedom in America. There are things you can't find in America that him being in Australia that he has to share with all Americans for them to understand it, to understand how non-free we are. We call it shadow tyranny. We just come up with that term, the shadow tyranny of America. And we got Kev coming in.
Why can't you just put it the way I put it? You are free to do as you were told.
We're free to do as we were told. I like it. But yeah, so we got into mining. We were talking about ultimate Faraday cages. And so we're talking about mining, and one of the things about mining is you're underground. The signals are getting blocked. And then we got to talk about how a lot of areas, your mines, your sinkholes, your caverns interconnect. I've seen this firsthand. And he's confirming all the way over in Australia, the gold mines over there in some of the local towns, they interconnect through natural shafts, through other shafts that may have been dug.
Just different levels. You go down every 3 levels. So we got one of the biggest gold mines in the history of the world. It's 29 levels. It's more than 500 feet deep. At some point, you've got to understand that these shafts on different levels are interconnected to other mines. Mm-hmm. For what most people don't realise is half of your bloody town that you live in, if there's a mine nearby, you can guarantee there's about 30 different shafts that run off to other mines running right beneath you, and you don't even know it.
One of the things that we were talking about is most towns have these, and they have access to these. And, we're looking at Ukraine right now, and then we got the potential of a nuclear event. Well, most towns do have a pretty good sized place for most of the people to go to ride that out for the first 48 hours or so.
Well, let's be real. Let's be real for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Most places generally have a nuclear event. So sometimes it's a natural occurrence, and then you've got Ukraine, and they didn't get a choice in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, they just got bombarded.
Let me ask you.
I feel sorry for them. Yeah, of course I feel sorry for them, but that's their nuclear event. Keep it. I don't want it.
Let me ask you this. Do you have TikTok still?
Why do you hate me?
I don't hate
Just everyone keep bringing that app up.
What I'm saying is I can screen mirror TikTok. I can screen mirror TikTok and put you on my podcast if we go live together there. I don't know. Do you have access to go live there?
No, I can't go live on TikTok because I haven't bothered to get my followers up.
Okay. Well, it was just something I was going to ask. I mean, I like this conversation because this is like the most interesting things. You know, we always talk about interesting stuff. That's why we get along. But let me ask you this. You know, the conspiracy realm. I listen to a lot of it. I don't believe half of it. I don't believe none of it. You know, I believe in some conspiracies, but I just mainly listen for entertainment. But you hear about they call them DUMBs. Have you ever heard of DUMBs? Deep underground military bases. Have you heard of that?
Unfortunately.
Okay. So
unfortunately.
So I don't know if you've ever seen people posting that truckers are usually the ones posting these videos of these huge cavernous, what looks like cities underground. And people take that and say, well, that's one of them DUMBs. That's one of them deep underground military bases. And what I keep seeing, because see, I know MSHA. MSHA is our safety governing body in the mine industry. So I understand what to look for to understand if it's a mine. So I'm looking for roof bolts. And so you got a certain amount of roof bolts are spaced a certain way, and then you have pillars that are a certain size. Now our mine overcompensates for safety. Our pillars are way bigger, but there's a certain amount of size you have to have. Okay, and then the roof needs to be so high. So the conspiracy realm.
Just explain it the easy way. If you're going to explain that shit, please just stop beating around the bush and just do it the right way, right? The rock that makes a ting when you hit the fucking thing is rock that is potentially going to cave in. That gets hard, right? You might as well call it a javelin gets fucking pushed through the brick, and that just stabilizes it because the steel's not going to move. And then your solid rock is just solid, so they put up load-bearing areas to cover the roof around these solid areas because that's more likely to collapse than the wall.
Yeah, and they use the roof bolts.
Now you can move on.
The roof bolts bolted into the bedrock, the stuff that don't ding. But but what gets me is how in the conspiracy area people will talk about these DUMBs, and they talk about these deep underground military bases, and then you have a trucker will show Kraft Foods bought out, a couple of companies bought out this huge salt mine, and they put factories in there. So the truckers just taking videos, and they're like, yeah, this is where the lizard people are, yada yada yada. But what gets me is we're dealing with a real issue with human trafficking. We're dealing with a real issue with this pedophilia online, and these people that work together to either try and get it mainstream. I mean, there's people in America that people don't realize they're trying to push for child sex rights with adults, and that's sick. And they're trying to normalize it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's sickening. And then you have.
If I ever run into anybody that supports that, you know, I wouldn't generally say this, but if I come across somebody that supports pedophilia or sex rings or anything of the sort, I would probably be the first person to tie them to a chain behind my vehicle and drag them down the fucking road.
Oh gosh. Oh Lord. We do not support the dragging of people with chains unless you catch us doing it, probably. That's our disclaimer. Don't go dragging pedophiles behind your car. Maybe you need to
be aware that while he was saying that, he had a big smile on his face.
Yeah. If you're a pedophile, just don't come to Alabama or Australia. We got the same feelings about you. Don't let us catch you. Don't let us catch you.
Come to Australia. We don't hide it.
Yeah, they'll stick the kangaroos on you over there, and they'll just disembowel you with one good flop of their feet. Have you heard about this movie called Freedom Song that's coming out now?
No, but I've got a gut feeling I'm about to hear about it.
Well, I've not watched it, but what you have is this group called Angel Studios, and they're kind of branching off from Hollywood because Hollywood's dying. I mean, Hollywood's went woke. They're going broke. They don't understand why somebody don't want to watch a transgender on a Pixar film with their kids. Transgender, but the kid, we don't want to show this to our kids. They don't need to be trying to cut their peckers off at 4 years old. I'm just going to say. And the doctor don't need to be asking them their gender when you take them in, because their gender is what I'm going to tell you their gender is that they were born as, But this movie has come out, and they're kind of counter Hollywood. They actually beat Indiana Jones in the box office, this new Indiana Jones movie. And it's basically about human trafficking, which you don't see a whole lot about in Hollywood, even though they're in a predominantly they're in an area where a predominant amount of it happens between the cartels and the gangs in America. You have what's called the skin trade, where they trade white children for brown. It's called Freedom Song. It's got, do you remember the Passion? Did you ever watch the Passion of the Christ? I mean, I know you're not religious, but the guy who played, who Jim?
No.
The guy who played Jesus in that movie, Jim Caviezel, he's a devout Catholic, and so his
name wasn't Ducky, then I don't know him.
His name, this guy's Jim Caviezel, and he's part of this group. They're more conservative leaning. They're coming out with a prepping style movie called The Homestead, where an EMP hits and everybody's bugging out to the homestead, yada yada, cowboys and all that. They're part of this counter Hollywood movement, but that's what they're coming up with. And what we're seeing is Hollywood is trying to label them as QAnon. They're trying, and guess who they brought on as the professional to try and discredit them. And you've listened probably as many conspiracies as I have. They bring in a guy. His last name is Rothschild, is their professional that's coming in to discredit Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
So into the scale, are they desperate? Are they desperate to hide the truth, or are they desperate to destroy somebody's bloody credibility?
When you're bringing a Rothschild in as a professional on QAnon and these are not pedophiles, they're just QAnon. This isn't true. And the guy's last name's Rothschild. When I seen it, I was like, oh my gosh, are they that stupid that by now, after the last 5 or 6 years, everybody in the world knows the Rothschilds and what they're involved in. Or the conspiracy surrounding them.
You have to be pretty desperate to fucking.
I mean, you literally do. Well, do you know any average person that knows the Rothschilds and the conspiracies around them that trusts the Rothschild name?
Well, yeah. No.
I mean, seriously.
Not a fucking hole.
That's who their professional was.
I cannot name anybody that I know that is fucking no.
Okay. So now you know why that movie's doing well in the box. It beat Indiana Jones because they brought Rothschild up to try and discredit it.
I'm not saying a fucking thing. I'm keeping my mouth shut about this.
You know, man. I mean, if you're just now coming into the podcast,
seriously wrong with them.
If you're just now coming into the podcast, we're talking about how Hollywood is trying to use a Rothschild to discredit Jim Caviezel's new movie as QAnon conspiracy theory because they're so desperate. But I mean,
that's the only reason they would, because of desperation.
Well, because they're all of them are getting Kevin Spacey getting convicted of it. He raped some guy. when he was a younger. I mean, how many Hollywood elite do you keep finding out have supposed connections to like raping kids? Then they make these weird movies, like the one they made with Brooke Shields as a kid.
There are so many actors and movie stars, TV stars, you know, that wherever you want to look, that have been convicted of pedophilia over the years.
And politicians too.
Even children, even children's cartoons. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the person that voiced Elmo was a convicted pedophile.
Ugh, for real, I didn't know that.
Before they were the voice of Elmo, they were a convicted pedophile. They knew this. And he still got to play Elmo.
Well,
the world is at a different point. Like 90% of it doesn't care as long as they're making money out of it.
Yeah. Hollywood seems to think they're going to keep getting away with this, but we're kind of seeing, you know, you reap what you sow. It's kind of turning on you. Look at the SAG actors. Right now we have SAG actors. We have two groups, the writers and the SAG group, that are going on. They're going on strike because they want to get paid more and they want protections against deep fake and AI. So they're wanting basically to keep the movie makers from using AI to write scripts. They're wanting to keep them from making AI generated movie stars, like people that don't exist, that don't ask for $50 million a movie. That's what they're striking over.
Can you blame them though? Or let's be real here, huh? Let's be real. What is an AI going to do that a human can't do? An AI isn't going to be performing stunt scenes. It's not going to be performing fight scenes. Mm-hmm. It's going to get hit in the wrong fucking manner and malfunction.
Well, they're like,
what are they trying to prove here? Are they trying to prove that an AI can do everything that a human can do? Or are they trying to prove that they can cut corners and save more money than anybody else in the world?
Well, they're kind of already starting to do. I mean, I'm doing it. I'm using AI. Now, like, I'm not talking about robots. I'm talking about CGI animation with
artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and I'm using it with the website. I mean, we're using it in a lot of different ways, and it saves me having to hire a human and provide benefits. Now, it's so much easier in Hollywood than, say, the mine or the factory, because you're going to have some human oversight. But in Hollywood, you don't need the actors like you did. You just need some dead actor, and you got the rights to his image. And they added Princess Leia back into Star Wars, and she was dead. So,
yeah, that's all CGI and that right.
But nobody cared.
The thing, there's a big difference though, right? So they've got the money to access, top of the line CGI and AIs. Mm-hmm. Out in the public, you're basically getting a quarter of what they're able to use, mm-hmm. which in realistic statistics isn't all that much.
Yeah.
Until you learn to look further. Once you start looking further, you'll learn how to change different aspects of CGI and AI. Mm. I'm not going to go into detail because it'll confuse the shit out of a lot of people. Mm. But you can utilize it in such a beneficial way. As you said, you don't have to rely on another person to do the work.
One of the things is, I guess, bringing that up, they're trying to push this woke agenda on us, like we should just give our kids up to groomers, okay? And then at the same time, while they're going through a hard time, they feel like people still care about their plight. Because the thing is one of the main things is Netflix. I mean, I don't go to the movies anymore. I can't afford it with inflation. I've got to pay for food. I've got to pay for fuel. Okay. So am I going to pay more?
It's getting too old.
Yeah, they're wanting more pay. The riders are wanting more pay because I guess the main thing I'm getting at is they're experiencing all the years of pushing things on the public that the public didn't want, and right now they're trying to make people look like they're evil because they won't accept what's evil, and they want us to care about them not getting paid $1 million versus $3 million.
Well, hang on a minute. Ready? Okay, so let's look at this from a different point of view, right? You say evil, right?
Yeah.
To a mouse, a cat is evil. To a cat, a dog is evil. Define evil.
They're pushing. What I'm referring to is them. They're constantly pushing an agenda. Okay, and I'm fine with people living how they want, but now they're trying to deem people. They literally call people terrorists. An actor, the one from Twilight, called people terrorists.
Okay, look.
Because they protested against the Target having children's transgender clothes. That's what I'm talking about. They're pushing grooming on the American people, and they want us to feel sorry for them. That's the evil they're pushing. Pedophilia. I mean, they're literally the ones behind it right now. The only ones behind it. Them and the government.
That's not evil, Dennis. That's not evil. That is downright fucking disgusting and
Okay.
pathetic. And those people should definitely die slow, painful death. I'm sorry, I don't make any apologies for that. They should be fucking.
Thank you, Sarah Lou. That's kind of what I'm getting at, though. They're experiencing what they're reaping what they sowed. They've constantly tried to tell people how to live. They're doing what they said the church was doing when they were the counterculture. Well, now you got a counterculture forming up against them. And
they have always, it doesn't matter where you go or what direction you want to look, somebody has always tried to tell everybody else how to live, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, how they should be doing it.
Yeah.
It's a part of life. And unless you learn how to swallow it and you find a way around it, you're always going to fall back into that same problem.
I think the thing we can look at here is it's the natural evolution of society. Someone's always going to fill that power gap to tell you what to do. And sometimes it's going to be good stuff. But they're always, because of human greed, they're going to, the powers that be will always seep into corruption. But when they overstep their bounds, the counterculture will begin to develop against them to the point that counterculture replaces them and becomes the new norm.
So I had a conversation just the other night, right?
Mm-hmm.
About why the powers that be have the powers that they have. Nobody could successfully give me that answer. And the successful answer is because people give these powers to be to these people.
Yeah.
How do you fix it when they start abusing these said powers? You can't just remove them. It doesn't work like that. You can't shoot them. That's not going to work.
We did it.
And then when they argue, no, you did it many centuries ago. You don't do it anymore. And if you were to, you'd be in prison for the rest of your life.
And that's exactly that's my argument with the conservatives. Nobody's picking up guns right now.
Well, the point I'm making here is once you get rid of one power that's being abused, the first thing you do is cheer, and then you just put another idiot there with that same power.
Exactly.
It's never somebody that's smart. It's never somebody that actually has a plan. It's never somebody that has a future movement. It is another stupid person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, because I tell everyone the same way, if they are born with stupid, fucking forget about them. That shit can't be fixed. They are stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing I look at. I think, when it comes back down to it, families are the center of a stable life. We know that. I mean, not everybody that has a stable life has a family support. I'm not going to say that it's exclusive, but most families can form, and I guess if you go in the general percentages, a family can form a stable life. And that was kind of what became the first government. You had your families that kind of bound together as tribes. And we're on two different ends of the spectrum with belief. I believe, I'm a Christian, you're an atheist, but you believe in community. So we basically believe in a lot of the same thing, because as a Christian, we believe God instituted the family as the first form of government. And that seems to be, the community seems to be the best form of government. And when we get in trouble is when we start getting into these big global communities or these huge empires. And that's when they start to crumble, and you see the revolutions, you see the fall, you see societal collapse is when you get too big for your bridge. That's the way I see it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. So let's look at it this way. You are right. We're at two completely different ends of belief. Mm-hmm. I believe in the community. You believe in whatever God you wish to believe in. That's not for me to tell you otherwise. It's not for me to tell you that God doesn't exist. That is your belief. I respect that. The thing with government, right? And you speak about government. Mm-hmm. Our government is not safe. They are never safe. They can be voted out at any time during their term. It doesn't matter if it's a prime minister or somebody holding a regular seat. They can be removed. Their seat is not guaranteed, right? And then you look at your governing system, and you cannot remove your president until his term is up, or her term, if a female ever gets voted in.
Yeah.
That is a problem. That is a real problem.
So in Australia, you can always remove your leader?
They can always be voted out. It is not a secure seat at any given time.
That's we need that.
You need that, because right now you put someone there, they're there for the whole time, whether they're fucking you in the ass with a 1,000-foot pole.
Oh, now
they're doing you good. They are there until their term is up.
What do you think about our current term holder? Think he needs to be voted out?
Current term holder.
But he voted out in Australia?
Holder. Jesus Christ. What I think, you're lucky the man even remembers that he is the president of the United States. Like, what nuffy, and I say it like this, what bunch of nuffy cunts actually thought it would be a good idea to put somebody with dementia into a fucking presidency? Seriously. I've known that there is stupid across the world, but who in their right mind thought that would be a great idea?
Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, I didn't think it was a good idea. I mean, but it is what it is. It's we're a divided country. What you're dealing with is two nations pretty well that are intermingled, living with one another, that have completely different opinions. And they've found a way to to utterly divide those two opinions and get somebody to pretty well take a side on either side. You either take this side or you take that side. If you're like me and you just don't care anymore because you see what they're doing, then you're the real nut job. You're the real nut job because you're out here getting ready for all that junk to blow off, and you're putting up some food, you're putting up some seeds, you got a few guns and some ammo, because when it's lawless, it's going to get bad. You're going to have riots. Those people are going to come at one another.
Do you want to know how opinions work?
Yeah.
I'll explain opinions, right? Mm-hmm. We can sit here, you and I, and we're not going to agree on everything. Mm-hmm. We're going to agree on probably less than 65% of things that we talk about. the thing that makes it a success come the end of it is the ability to see things from each other's point of view and respect the fact that my opinion is my opinion and your opinion is your opinion, jumping down each other's throats about it. Now, if you look at the United States, right, and we can look at this very same, response. You've got your red and you've got your blue, and that's how you guys see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
One does not want to work with the other because they're afraid of that change, while the other wants them to accept that things need to change. You can't see eye to eye, but you also can't respect each other's opinion. Thus, it will never end in a successful way. Ever.
Yeah, and you're coming to this point where you can't agree with someone trying to normalize pedophilia. You just can't. And there's only one side trying to do that.
Yes, and there is somebody in the audience. Yellow Cake, you are absolutely right. It's not hate speech just because you disagree.
Amen.
I can sit here and I can turn around and say, this person is a nuffy cunt that shouldn't even talk. At the end of the day, it's not even hate speech. If they're spitting out absolute bullshit, the only thing that they've gotten is the fucking truth. And they'll turn around and they will scream hate speech because people don't like hearing the truth.
Yeah.
It is a hard thing to swallow. It really is. You can sit here and you can talk about the impending war that's going to come because of a lot of different stupidities around the world. I'm not going to say that one country is better than another country or another country has something that another country wants. That's not my problem. It's not on my doorstep. It's not my fucking fight.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I can say whatever the hell I like. If someone doesn't like the truth, they're going to scream and have a tantrum and call it hate speech.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they're going to say that I'm racist.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what the case is. They will always have an excuse to avoid the truth.
And a lot of those that would call you racist don't realize. Now, I may be mistaken, but didn't we talk about this? And you said you have Aboriginal descent. You have Aboriginal heritage.
I am half Aboriginal, and anybody that knows me in person that knows this is fact. I am referred to as an albino nigger.
Oh, man.
Because I am white on the outside, but I have all my fucking papers to prove that I am part Aboriginal. My children are part Aboriginal. My father, part Aboriginal.
Yeah.
The grandparents. Half of my grandparents are blacker than a dark sky on a fucking stormy night.
Well,
at the end of the day, you can't just assume that somebody is racist because they've said something. You don't know their background, you don't know where they're coming from, and you don't know what they live like.
Yeah. One of the things I've found recently, I have the paperwork to prove my Indian heritage, and now my cousin went and got the blood work. What is it? Where you send your blood out, 53andMe. So apparently we have 1% Tootsie tribe in my dad's generation, 1% Tootsie tribe. Okay, that's coming from my dad's side of the family. So we have free slave or escaped slave in us, in our heritage now, and it does explain a lot, about the way our family operates and how we're structured, and but here we are. In all reality, most people are just mutts. Now, racism's insane and stupid. Slurs are stupid. That's just people. That's just the general ignorance and stupidity of man in competition trying to be better than somebody, and they go that route instead of trying to really prove their self in other.
It's childish.
Yeah, and
it's
so
childish reactions to an adult situation.
What we're seeing now is not just racism. We're seeing the guise of racism used in anti-culturalism. Okay, now if you come from a certain culture, now you're stereotyped, or you're like, okay, now a person would listen to me talk, and Danny's in the comments. We've all talked. I've been told that I have a racist accent because I come from Alabama, because I talk like a redneck. That's racist accent because this is down here where they believe.
I want to pause you there. Let me pause you right there. How do you tell somebody that they have a racist accent?
Unless you...
What would even constitute as a racist accent? That's not even a fucking possibility. What stupid person told you that? Please punch them in the face, break their nose.
Random trolls on TikTok. We laugh at them. She's mentioning that we got called a KKK meeting once because not only do I have African Tutsi tribe in me, but I have a lot of Northern European descent, and a majority of them were persecuted peoples. But a lot of them moved to southern part of the United States and set up shop there. A lot of Scottish did, and they intermingled with the Indians, and then the Indians and a lot of them intermingled with African Americans. So you have this big mottled mutt ship down here. We're all mixed up, and a lot of people don't realize a lot of African American slang comes from the South. That they talk different because of the accents that they picked up from the white people around them. And so,
it still comes back to a point. How can an accent be racist?
Exactly.
What has crossed paths in the childish mind to be able to place racism on the way somebody's voice sounds?
Yeah. My side.
Walking down the street and saying, oh, that guy looked in that shop's window, he must be racist because he wasn't looking at the black and the white jumpers. He was looking at the green one and the blue one and the orange one. He's definitely racist.
Yeah. Well, it's my side is going to win against your side. We found a weapon, and we're going to use that weapon to its fullest extent. And we're going to use it against the other side. But then there's the people like me. I'm not really taking a side right now. I'm worried about me, my family, and just being me, okay? And I get caught in the crossfire of their stereotyping because I sound a certain way. I'm from a certain place. I'm automatically labeled uneducated. And I do have education. I do have extra education. But I've been around engineers. I've been around business degrees. And I've seen them make some really stupid decisions with that education. You're uneducated is another thing they throw at you because I sound this way.
That just comes back to that point that I made earlier. You can't fix stupid. If you were born with it, you were going to die with it. It cannot be fixed. It cannot be cured. It can't even be fucking patched.
Yeah.
If you come across stupid, just laugh and walk away because there is nothing you can fucking do to fix that.
When you break it down as a whole, it comes back to go-getters, the ones that want to get to the top. But it's not the ones that can get to the top by their own accomplishments. It's the stupid people that the only thing they can do is to deride someone else. So they use whatever they can to deride someone that they feel like is a threat to their superiority complex, their confidence. And so a redneck guy like me that comes in talking like what they've potentially been told all their lives is some idiot, okay, because he lives in the back sticks of the woods and is uneducated. Well, racist accent. This idiot, he can't talk to me like that. He can't tell me I'm wrong. He's a racist accent. This is a KKK meeting. Where's y'all's hoods? That's what they're saying to us. And
I just want to put my hand up and say, the next time you have a KKK meeting, can I come?
Yeah.
I would love to be in the audience just being one of those hecklers, Look, I've even got my fucking hand up. Pick me. I want to come.
Yeah. Well,
I'll not gonna. I can't promise I'm gonna come in a white sheet, but I have a black hoodie. Will that do? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Well, it's the thing, and people stereotype you because your pigmentation just happened to fall on the paler side than the rest of your family. Because most of you, like you said, you got a lot of your family, the pigmentation falls on the Aboriginal side, and yours just happened to fall not. So.
I'm just a fucking pizza. I'll take it how it comes. It doesn't bother me. See, I get stereotyped for the way that I am. But a lot of people don't realise I'm probably one of the most blunt, straightforward, honest people, whether you fucking like it or not. If I've got something to say, I'm going to say it. If I see you doing something that is wrong, I'm going to call your ass out on it. If I see you giving out false and misleading information, I'm going to sit there and tell everybody that you're a stupid prick that doesn't know what you're fucking talking about, and they should find a different source.
And I'm a testament to that fact, folks. He does it to me.
Look, I hate beating a dead horse, right? But it is still a very much talked about factor over in America is the COVID lockdowns that happened, and everybody under the assumption that COVID had brought internment camps and shit to Australia. I was an interstate truck driver for this entire duration, travelling from the top of Australia to the bottom of Australia, and from one side to the fucking other through more towns than you could possibly fucking name in a year. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter in this is uneducated people take what they see on the media and then they create their own narrative for it, and then they spread it like wildfire. It is called fear-mongering.
Yeah.
Now, I've had a lot of people try to tell me what did and didn't happen in my own fucking country. And then people come to me and they're like, oh, this happened and that happened. And you can't tell us that it didn't because we saw it on the news. Well, guess what, motherfucker? I was driving through that shit every fucking day. If I seen an internment camp, you can damn well bet your bottom dollar I would have said something. But all I seen was people walking around. They were doing their shopping. They were living normal lives. They were driving their fucking cars. Shit, I went past a fucking road that had 300 caravans on the car.
Danny, there she goes.
I'd love to know.
Well,
I would love to know where people get the delusional idea that everything on the media is true.
So I think what the big divide is now, Danny's talking about quarantine, and a lot of people have equated quarantine with that scene, that clip they got of the people in that. It was like a quarantine facility.
Okay.
And we had people going.
Let me put this straight. Right? I can put this completely straight. All right? Ready?
Yeah.
They had 5-star hotels, right? Mm-hmm. And designated areas for people that were traveling into Australia. They had to quarantine for 2 weeks to make sure that if they did have COVID, they weren't going to spread it to the rest of the population while they were here from town to town.
What a lot of people didn't think to look at.
There were no camps. There were no internments. There was nothing. It was a 2-week quarantine to slow the spread.
One of the things that people don't realize, the video that a lot of people refer back to, the guy was using an American accent. So he was obviously someone traveling into Australia, like what you're saying. Now, the whole time during that, now I did buy into it a little bit. I ain't going to lie, because, I mean, this is what you're seeing. This is what you're being fed on social media. But I would come and talk to y'all about it. And we done a lot of lives during that. That was when all this started, when we met each other. And so you would talk about the quarantine where they turn you around from a town, they shut down a town, turn you around, and send you around it with the truck. And that was what they were doing here in America in some places.
I'm going to enjoy explaining this one. The only places you will see here that have like caravans and shit in a fenced area are caravan parks. I'm telling you, there were no camps, there were no internments, there weren't even forced vaccinations. Anybody that was in that sort of an area was there because they were there.
Yeah.
The amount of people that actually went along with a lot of the fear mongering is unbelievable.
So you're saying, well,
When it comes to those places that actually had, look, a lot of people self-quarantined as well.
yeah.
And I mean a lot.
Well, let me ask this. Are you saying, now it sounds like to me, there were actual people in Australia that were like playing off of this to just screw around, and it caused a lot of this to get out of hand. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, without a doubt, there were a lot of people that egged on the fear mongering. But the places where they were getting food delivered to, right, by nurses and medical practitioners,
Yeah.
and government regulatories, right? If they weren't allowed out of the place, they were in a red zone. And a red zone was a high concentrated COVID infected area.
Okay, so this was just an isolated town.
I know they weren't allowed out. They were red zones. They were high concentrated COVID affected areas. If I had to go into a red zone in my truck, I had to have all sorts of special fucking permits to say I was going in there, and I wasn't allowed to in there for any more than a certain amount of time.
So what you're calling
longer than that time?
So what you're calling a red zone?
There too.
It was not a specific camp that people were being taken to. This was a town that was under quarantine, and it was that time
There was a highly infected area.
Yeah. Okay, and so they shut down the town because I remember us talking about that when you could or couldn't go into a place.
Danny, you needed papers to go from state to state. You needed papers to go into red zones. If you were in a high populated COVID affected area, you needed permission to be there. Otherwise, you were considered to be a person that would spread it.
So
if I went into a red zone and I was there for more than 12 hours, I was staying there for 2 weeks.
So one of the things that I'm seeing,
you will see that it is that way.
So well, that could be like our projects over here, Danny. So what I'm gathering is there were quarantines of certain towns when they were highly infected, and then you have people in Australia that did play off of the fear mongering. You did have
there were a lot of
and you had a different type of lockdown than we did because you had to have certain papers. Now, briefly, and everybody here.
Look, everybody hears the word lockdown and they immediately assume that you were locked in your house and you're not allowed to go anywhere. Well, this wasn't the case, right? You quarantined for 2 weeks.
Danny's saying
tested positive, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that was in the lockdowns was still able to go to the shop. They were able to go down the bloody street.
Yeah.
And do what they had to do. The only thing was they didn't want anybody traveling more than a certain distance from where they were to avoid a further spread.
Okay. So what I'm saying is the thing that she brings up is the woman was there and okay with being there, but the rules were still okay. So what it sounds like to me, and this is me. This is what I'm seeing.
The rules were different in all different locations.
Yeah. But it goes back to what I was talking about with the mines. Somebody takes a mine, and it's real easy to convince people to believe you're in a deep underground military base and the government's hiding everything from you during a certain time. And we have people that do that. We're watching a lot of that happen with Russia and Ukraine. And there's people that are doing these things it's like catfishing. There's some people that are doing it just for the heck of it. And the thing about it, though,
I will base a realistic example of what Danny's information there was, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I went into a gated community, all the housing units in a gated community over here look exactly the same. I could stand on the porch of one of those gated community houses and I could flash my camera around and say, I'm not allowed to leave. My food has to be brought to me. That doesn't necessarily mean that I am not allowed to go anywhere, but that's the narrative I'm going to give you.
Well, and that's what I see. Now, I guess this is a good point to look at. This is not something we stumbled on in the middle of this podcast, but here's the thing. This is what hinders corruption. This is what hinders things. And I feel like sometimes governments encourage it. They have, in every corrupt government in all the world, they've encouraged misinformation because it helps them to keep people from seeing what they're doing. Okay? So you have things that are actually wrong.
Danny, what I'm saying is it was a 2-week quarantine. They went there for 2 weeks so that they didn't spread COVID. That was the national fucking security response to a highly infectious contamination spreading.
Yeah. Well, here's
they're not considered camps here.
Let's get off the camp thing, Danny. Because we're kind of, Kevin's getting enraged if you can't tell, and he don't do drama. He's gonna hop out of here because.
No, I'm not actually getting enraged.
Okay.
It's difficult to get it across what it was.
Well,
because you guys see these things completely different to the way that we have them. Well,
the thing I'm looking at though, this is how they do it.
That's not part of it.
This is how they do it though. Danny completely believes what she's seen. You know what you know. And that's what they.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's how they divide you.
It's easy to believe it's a camp.
Yeah.
It's easy to believe it's a camp.
Yeah.
These places, and I shit you not, 9 out of 10 of these places, you would want to get sent to for a holiday.
Yeah. Well,
you would. That's why people are okay with going into their 2-week quarantines to stop the spread in red zones and stuff, because they were getting free food, they were getting free power, they were getting a free bed to sleep in, they didn't have to pay rent.
So I want to kind of tie it back into what we're talking about. Let's look at this. Now, that's how they do this. Now, you know Danny. I know Danny. Danny knows you. We've all talked and agreed on all kinds of things, okay? And no matter whether this is true or not, there's a point of disagreement here that could turn into contention if we weren't right-minded people knowing what corruption does, what they try to do. How right now, this must be a heavy topic because I've seen you and Rogue talk about it. This is something that Australia does not like. Y'all don't like it. Okay,
no.
So that's how they do that.
Like everybody. Okay, so unlike everybody else, right?
Yeah.
That period for us, the period of talking about that, ended the moment it was no longer a justified thing.
Yeah, and see.
So,
but how many?
A conversation.
How many people are not like us that are having the same argument right now between countries? And they're not gonna continue a friendship or a talk. And it goes back to that's what the media has done. And not just in America. They've worked together across the world to do this to people groups. And not just now. They've just figured out how to perfect it to a certain degree now. And then
that's exactly right.
Those same people are mad and want us to feel sorry for them because their riders are not getting paid all this money that we can use AI to put them out of a job. Because here's the thing, those same people were glorifying the fact that, industry is going to be taken over by AI. We're going to put coal out of a job. We're going to put all these people out of jobs with AI. But it turns out AI is putting the same people that were advocating for it just a few years ago. It's putting them out of a job quicker than it's putting us out. And I have a hard time feeling sorry for them.
Now let me throw in some food for thought for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Australia as a whole is not run by one person.
Yeah.
The moment you go across the state lines, or the state borders as we know them, you would know them as state lines, those rules change. Who's in charge? That changes. They make their own calls from state to state. Whoever is the state parliament leader makes the calls in that state.
Yeah.
Not the Prime Minister. Not our government's parliamentary seats. It is the state leaders. Right? They get the all clear. Then from state to state, everything was different. So what happened in one state wasn't happening in another, and it wasn't happening in another, and so on.
And that's kind of the way it is here.
It was a huge pain in the ass, because I can tell you right now, as an interstate truck driver that was on the road through that entire duration, I went into places that you wouldn't even want to walk into. I went into red zones, and just like Danny was saying, she saw a lady on a porch on TikTok live in quarantine. They would have been in quarantine and not allowed to leave the building.
And they were bringing supplies to them.
Because they were in a highly contaminated area, and they needed to quarantine for that 2 weeks. Whether they were moved across there from a different area in that red zone, or they were a traveller, it's just something that you just don't know. I can sit here and tell you that I've just come in from over in New Zealand.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a clue. You wouldn't have a clue. And that's the problem. A lot of this was happening all around the world. I mean, look at sports, right? Well, all of us regular people, if we were sick, we had to quarantine for 2 weeks, okay? A lot of us quarantined voluntarily. But if you were a sports star, and this happened quite a lot, if you tested positive, you were still allowed to fly in and play your sports. That wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
So it was a double standard all the way around.
No,
you're not allowed to go in high-risk quarantine zones, red zones. You were not allowed to go from porch to porch.
Yeah. And this is where we see, this is why I don't feel sorry for Hollywood, because they supported these things. They and like you said, America, y'all probably got a different perception of America than what it really is too, because in all reality, what they want to do is the president to control this whole country. But we have our governors, and right now the governors are the only thing that are stopping our country from being just turned completely up on end, because they want to take the governor's power. They want, you see people governors that fight the reigning staff right now in Washington, the reigning officials in Washington. Well, that's why they're militarizing our FBI and our CIA and our ATF. Recently, we had the ATF and the IRS, armed IRS agents. Our tax officials, we have armed tax officials, went into a gun store in Wyoming and confiscated records of the people that have bought guns. Now, that's against the law in our country. But Washington wants a national registry. Now, with your experience in Australia, are all y'all's guns on a national registry? I'm not saying nothing about y'all's gun laws or nothing, but you know as well as I do, there's a lot of guns that are not on that registry.
Okay, there's a lot of fucking misinformation around guns in Australia.
Yeah.
One, the government never took guns off of people. People gave them up after a massacre.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody went on a shooting rampage and people voted to give up the guns.
And y'all chose to do that.
Guns are not illegal in Australia. If you want a firearms license in Australia, you go through a psych test. You go through a police check.
Yeah.
In some cases, you need to be part of a gun club. In other cases, you could be a farmer that's got sufficient land to require having a gun.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that legal guns are on a registry.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you that I could walk down the street and pay $50 to $100 and pick up a handgun and come and shoot you in the fucking face.
Exactly.
Because that is the reality of it. You are never going to take away a black market side to anything.
Exactly.
No matter how much wishful thinking you want to have.
But that's what
that is the reality.
That's and that's what we know. You know, being people that have been around firearms, we understand. I mean, I've known felons that had guns and they finally got caught with them. How did they get them? Because they had the right amount of money and they knew the right people. And that's just how it works. But that's what our government wants, though. That, like, y'all chose, from what I'm understanding, province to province, to a certain extent, to have a gun registry of legal guns. We hadn't decided that in America, and you have certain areas. You have certain areas in America that want that, but then you have other areas in America that just don't want that, and we see what our government will do, and we see what armed IRS agents are doing. They're breaking the law that we established in this country because they have the firearms and the guns, and that's what they do. So why would we give our guns to that government when, like you said, they're hiding information from us that we can't get access to? They're lying to us on a global scale.
Okay.
They're creating narratives.
Here's how realistic that was. Riley, sitting down there, is one of the people that asked me to search software.
Yeah.
Because she found that she kept running into a brick wall no matter where she looked.
Yeah. What was it now you searched?
It did not matter. That's up to her whether or not she wants to tell you.
Okay.
That's not for me to disclose.
Okay. But see, that's what we're dealing with over here. So when you see, and traditionally America is anti-establishment, a little anarchistic, but in nature, and a lot of your southern states, a lot of your Midwestern states still have that type, but you have this half of our country is in these mass metropolitan areas that have no concept of hunting. They have no concept of where their food comes from. They have no concept of not being able to have police within a 5-minute range of being called. And their view of guns.
And that's the thing. See, I can sit here and I can comfortably tell you that while yous are under the impression that Russian refugees are being sent out of America, I can tell you that they're coming into America via Mexico on foot.
Yeah. And
because over here, we're not stopped from seeing anything.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can get onto my internet right now and I can look up how to make a fucking bomb.
Yeah, well.
And nobody will come and knock on my door.
Yeah, and see, now if you do that here, the ATF, FBI, they're going to be investigating. If you don't think they're investigating you and you're looking that stuff up, well, they're doing it. I'm just going to tell you. You ping some kind of algorithm, they're logging that info somewhere, and if something happens and they suspect, they think they need to come look you up, well, they're going to have tons of paperwork to show you what you've been looking for.
The only time they want to look at you over here is if you have done something wrong.
Yeah.
They will come and look at you after the fact. But until that point, look at whatever the fuck you want.
Are explosives heavily regulated in Australia?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Very highly regulated.
Yeah,
probably one of the most strict things over here.
Yeah, we're highly regulated too. I have a blaster's, like a blasting handler's license because of work, because we work with that in mind. But yeah, it's again though, understanding what we're dealing with. They want us to argue about the stupid stuff. But yet, then here they are now wanting us to feel sorry for them because they're, these people that have aided in corruption.
Is that actually true? You cannot buy a Sharpie over there without showing ID.
Sharpies?
Seriously?
Maybe in some areas. I don't think I've had to show.
Like,
I don't know about that. I can buy a Sharpie at Walmart right now. Now, Hornet spray, probably in California, because you can use Hornet spray and you spray it in somebody's eyes. They have to go to the doctor to get that fixed before they'll lose their vision for, I think, for the rest of their life if it don't get treated a certain way. That's the rumor I've heard, and I've heard of people using it like pepper spray when people are attacking them.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah,
it would not surprise me.
A lot of your metropolitan areas, a lot of your more blue-leaning states, they're heavily regulated on everything, and they were more regulated during the pandemic than for longer periods of time than probably anywhere in the world. People, y'all were letting up. People in China were letting up, and we were still told we couldn't have church services over here except with a certain amount of people. And there was places they wouldn't even let them have outdoor pull up in your own car church services over here. So that's why.
You ready?
Yeah.
This is how free I am to look at whatever the fuck I like. In the National Library of Australia, you will find how to make a bomb.
Huh. They just give you all that.
You will find out every little detail that you need to know to make a Class A explosive in the National Library of Australia.
Well, they really trust y'all. Well, I mean, most people don't realize how easy it is to make a bomb with what you can get from Walmart. But at the same time, if they see you buying that stuff, if they see you putting that stuff in your cart, it's going to flag something, and you're going to get a call from, you got paraphernalia, and everybody's got bomb-making paraphernalia in their house, if you know what you're doing.
Is it seriously that bad over there? Like, it is always being watched.
Well, I think they're watching everybody in the world right now. I mean, that's just how the federal agencies are. They really have no valid oversight. You see what they're doing with the FBI right now with our Congressional Oversight Committee. They just won't even answer them when they ask them questions. I mean, they're not getting in trouble for lying.
Everybody in the world.
They're using.
I am not surprised that they're watching everybody. Everybody in the world will be getting watched because they're picking fights they know they can't fucking win.
Exactly. You look at the Edward Snowden case. He come out and told everybody about that because they were overreaching. They were abusing a power they didn't even legally have, but they had because of technology. And they were watching other countries. I mean, England found out they were watching them. You know, they could see what their people were doing. And this is NSA, FBI, CIA. They had a way of doing that technologically. And that's the same people that are taking jobs in our tech industry. Like you've seen it with Twitter. Elon Musk fired a former FBI agent, and he was trying to censor something, and Elon Musk found out about it and fired him immediately. And then they started looking into it in like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, and all of them were former federal agents getting these high-level jobs. And so they're back. You know, the one app they're worried about, Telegram, because they can't hack. I don't think they can hack the encryption to a degree. They don't like Telegram. They don't.
Telegram can definitely be hacked.
Well, they can't hack you.
I don't want anybody in here to have any misconception on the fact that Telegram can be hacked. Encryption is not foolproof.
Well, you're talking about the people that took 3 years to hack the Boston Bombers iPhone because Apple wouldn't give them wouldn't do it for them. It took them 3 years, and they had to go through. I think I heard they went through like like 2 or 3 background apps, to finally get in. We're talking about those people, Kev. They can't control Telegram or TikTok because they're in other countries, and because of TikTok, like you look on American social media, you don't see anything about what's been happening in France. But when you go to TikTok,
no, you don't. No, you guys don't.
Yeah.
You can't see anything past that specific point.
Yeah. On TikTok, we can.
Come over here. You can do. Come visit me for a week. I'll give you my computer, my $25,000 computer. I'll let you run rampant on. You can research whatever the fuck you like, and you will find every bit of information that you will never see on the net.
But the thing is we can. You froze up.
I read that section, Doc. Am I there?
Yeah, here you are. See, we could see this stuff on TikTok, and people were showing Instagram versus TikTok when you search that. So they were actively censoring for our government because these guys used to work for our government. But TikTok is not owned by them, and they would infiltrate it if they could, I imagine. That's why the whole TikTok ban came up in America, and we had that big flood on Clapper. Okay.
Okay. Well, let me pull you up there because you're under the same misconception that everybody I've ever heard talk about it is.
Okay.
TikTok was only a name to put forward with that section document. It was not TikTok specific.
Well, yeah.
You go and Google that section document.
Yeah.
Go and Google the section document. That section document covered every social media and news platform that you can possibly think of, from TikTok to Facebook, Clapper, Instagram, Twitter. Fuck. If tagged Bebo and fucking whatever else has ever been across the existence, man, online in the way of social or news, it was able to be removed under that section document. I laughed when everybody comes storming over to Clapper from TikTok because it was not TikTok specific. Oh, we got to run over here. We'll be safe over here. And well, no, you fucking really weren't.
The way it was structured, though, was TikTok was not going to abide by that law in America. So they would have either had to sell it, and then our government would be able to control what they were doing, or, they wouldn't exist in America.
The thing is, TikTok still would have existed. It just would have been banned for Americans. Americans wouldn't have had access to it.
Yeah.
So it still would have been an app, but it would have been other countries.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why that law was coming about, because, like you said, it covered every app. That meant they were going to have unfettered control. Like, even websites were going to have to, they were going to have some access to my website. Because, see, here's the thing. When they get somebody, when they infiltrate a social media organization, and they got a federal agent in there censoring, like you hear about the shadow banning, and they always say, well, this is certain individuals doing this. Okay, it's usually people that are on a certain beliefs, system, and like we've already talked about in this show today. Okay, so people start getting shadow banned. But then we would go to another site.
I'll enlighten you there. I'm shadow banned right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, I probably am too on a lot of places, but that's what would happen. When they didn't want something to get out, they'd get you shut up over there. But then we could go somewhere else, or we could go make our own platform. We could go make our own website, and the message would still get out. But that whole law, they called it a TikTok ban, but they were going to take control of everyone's voices in America, and you could not say what they didn't want you to say, was what it was going to boil down to. And that's why Rand Paul was against it.
That section document would have gone against so many basic human rights. Mm-hmm. But and I say it with great confidence, by keeping your Second Amendment, you actually gave up a lot of basic rights. There are a lot of basic rights that you are not afforded, right?
Oh yeah.
If you have a natural disaster, right? So look at us. We have a natural disaster. Our government supplies all the food for free to take care of these people, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to go shopping. They don't have to pay for it. It is free. Not a fucking cent comes out of a person's pocket. If they've lost all their clothes, they are afforded a free place to stay. They are afforded all these different luxuries that you guys gave up your rights to.
Well, I mean, we never took those rights in America. That's
my
that's socialism versus that's socialism versus capitalism. And that's a whole nother debate, and that's not as much the Second Amendment. That's what we chose to operate on our own. That was the whole start of it all. Now, people in other states and in a lot of metropolitan areas, though, now they give up they give up a lot of rights to have those rights, because there are a lot of states that do that here, but it's different state to state. That's what I'm saying. In Alabama, when all that happened with the tornadoes, we had a big disaster. There wasn't anybody went hungry. There wasn't anybody went without a place to stay, because that's our culture here. We came together. If we had something more, we'd go over. People volunteered. It wasn't something we depended on the government. We did it ourselves. And when you had certain elements,
like it's not a dependency.
It's not a dependency on the government.
It is something that they have to do, because that is a part of our basic human rights and protected by our Constitution.
Okay. Well, basic human rights. What are you defining as basic human rights? Like food, water, shelter?
Basic human rights. You have the right to be able to eat. You have the right to clean water. You have the right to shelter. You have the right to stay warm. You have the right to safety. Freedom of speech. We have complete and utter freedom of speech over here, and it is practiced on a regular basis.
Okay, now that's
many. Do you know? Look up basic human rights.
Well, I understand what you're calling basic human rights. What we call basic human rights.
Everybody is born with it.
Well, that goes back to socialism versus capitalism. What you're calling human rights is something different. I have the right to exist, is what I see. I have the right to provide myself with food. I have the right to provide myself with clean water. I have the right to provide myself with a shelter. Okay? Now, what you're calling human rights is dependent on somebody else providing no matter what. So if a person doesn't want to pay for clean water, but they have access to clean water, somebody else has to clean that water for them. Someone else pays the cost for that water to be clean, because water, being you both know, water doesn't just, it's not just a lot of times drinkable from the ground. It has to be treated.
It's 10 to 6 in the morning, so I was rattling off, just all different rights that we have over here.
Well,
I'll find you the very, very basic rights that you were born with.
Well,
and you will die with.
Water and food. I don't have the right to go and take water and food from somebody else. Do you agree with that? Somebody can't walk into your house and take your water and your food.
You shouldn't be. The thing is, you shouldn't be walking into somebody's house and taking their food and their water anyway.
But they paid for that.
Human decency.
Yeah, because you paid for that. You paid for that. Okay. Now, why can't they come?
I'm not reading that shit out right now.
What I'm saying is those human rights, from what I'm understanding, they're entitled to clean water. Now, I had the same guy make this argument when I worked in Chattanooga. He said they get that S for free. I said, but the treatment's not free. I said, now you can go down to the river. Nobody's going to stop you from going to the river and scooping out a cup of water and drinking it. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that, though, because it needs to be treated. You're going to scoop it out. You're going to filter it. You're going to boil it. I have the right to do that. That's completely. When people were born before society.
Accurate.
What's that? I'm not from Chattanooga. I'm from Alabama.
Is that accurate?
What's that?
No. Fuck it. Not that. Somebody said some places you can't even collect rainwater.
California. Now, California is heavily socialistic. They have so many rights. But yeah, they have the biggest homeless population in the world. So there's that. Now in Alabama, if somebody needs some water, we take care of one another. But nobody's going to stop.
Why is that illegal? Why is it illegal to collect rainwater?
Because the people in the city wanted to water their lawns.
Is it because you don't have to?
This is California. They believe everybody has access to water. Okay? But they're not got enough water coming in through their river. If everybody collects up the rainwater, the river's not going to have enough water. Okay? So there were farms that literally went under because they could not collect rainwater. They were allotted a certain amount of water, and that was voted for by the people in LA because they wanted to be able to water their lawns. They had a right to that water, and so they voted for that. Now, that's not in Alabama. That's completely, it's like two different countries.
Out of curiosity, what was going through their heads when they come up with collecting rainwater as in an illegality?
People that don't understand where food comes from. They live in a box,
my
Kev.
point here is what makes them think that every ounce of fucking rain that comes out of the sky and hits the damn ground is going to end up in a river? That is the dumbest thing.
The aquifers belong to the state. You don't own the rights to the water on your property in that area. And in a lot of areas.
Nobody owns the rights to the water that falls out of the sky.
The government does.
That illegal.
The government and the corporations. They do. They do here.
No, they don't.
They don't, but they do.
They do not own the water that comes out of the sky.
They do.
They can't own the water that comes out of the sky.
They have enough guns.
What's wrong with you?
They have enough guns to enforce that. That's what I'm talking about. It's that divide. And it's that Hollywood mentality. They don't understand where food comes from. They don't understand how this country works. They don't understand who takes care of these big metropolitan areas. And that's a huge portion of your voter base. All they know is four walls, a bus to ride back and forth wherever they want, big city jobs. They don't understand that animals die for that food they have in their grocery store. That there has literally been comments I've seen where this kid told somebody, "You think you're a farm girl? You think you're fancy? Farming's costly. That's why we have grocery stores." That person literally did not realize that the farms supplied the grocery store with food. So you have this voting base that don't know anything. And that's why they voted for that. And they have enough guns to enforce that. And that's why we don't give up our guns.
I just cannot get my head around them thinking that they own the water that falls from the fucking sky. I'm never going to understand that.
Well,
and if I ever meet the nuffy cunt that actually said that was a good idea, I would probably feed him to a.
Well, that's where you clean,
because I'm that night.
That's where your clean water comes from.
Yeah.
That's where your clean water comes in.
I read.
Listen to this. This is how it works.
That's where 60% of your clean water comes from. The rest of it stays on the ground and goes to waste because it ain't going to a river system or a stormwater system. Period.
It evaporates. But here's the thing.
So,
this is where that comes from. I'm gonna explain this to you. Okay? So in a heavy regulated area like California and a lot of these blue states, you have to have a license to clean the water. You have to have a license for the use of water. So you're paying them that money. Okay? That's your taxes. Okay, so corporations can afford these things more. Plus, they can afford to have lawyers and lobbyists go to these governing bodies and work in their favor where the average person doesn't. Okay? Now, you're not going to have an officer down there to stop you from scooping water up and drinking it. No. But that's why clean water can't be a right, because that's the thing. If those people have any more power, they'll be running our government with that. Well, all that water belongs to the people. We're gonna make it all clean for you to drink it. But if I want to go over here and scoop up, get the equipment to filter my own water, to clean my own water, that's my human. I have the right to do that here. I have the right that if they want to come take that water that I cleaned from me out of my house, I have firearms and I have an ability to defend myself to a certain degree against the local law enforcement that would come and try to take what I have, like my food. Somebody may say, well, I got a right to eat. I got a right to good food to eat. But there's none in the grocery store. The government don't have any, but they're going to come to my home where I have raised my food, packaged my food, and they're going to take that and give that to this guy that didn't do any of that work. But if I have my firearms that they don't know about, they're going to be less likely to come in and do that here. And that's a threat here. I don't know if it's a threat in Australia, but that is a literal threat. That FEMA has the literal right to walk into your home and take everything they want, to confiscate it and commandeer it for the use of the government in a major disaster. But they're less likely to do it in a place like Alabama that's well armed, and we have that right. We take care of one another and provide what you're calling basic rights. We provide those for one another, and we take care of each other.
Yeah, see, that will never happen here. The government will never have that kind of power here.
But it will here.
Never.
We don't live in
We might not have guns. We might not have guns. But you don't want to walk into our house uninvited.
If you took the guns,
10 cases, you might be lucky to walk back out that door.
If you took the guns in America, it would be the same thing. We'd find a way. But the people in the city live under so much controlled conditions. They believe that they can take whatever they want from you without a fight. And sometimes that happens. But then you see things like Waco. You've seen what they tell you about Waco all these decades. But then now you start seeing evidence and body cam footage that come out they didn't want you to see. And you realize they pretty well went in there and started that, killed those people's dogs, and you had kind of a rogue element in this militarized federal force, and they went in there and basically just killed those people. But those people fought back. And it was such a problem for them because they had the right to own firearms. Now, they were crazy probably, don't get me wrong, from what we know, what was released about Waco. But nobody will ever forget them, and they're less likely to come out here and fool with us because those people had those firearms. But that's what we deal with in America. To y'all, it seems foreign, but we deal with some corrupt people.
To me, it just... Well, I can understand people's concerns, right? And I'm the first person that can sit here and say, yeah, I get your concerns. I mean, come over here. If someone breaks into your house, you're expected to let them do what they want and then walk out the door. Because if you turn around and you bust them in their chops or you hurt them, then they can turn around and get off scot-free and have you charged.
And see,
that is how it is.
If they come in my house, I'll kill them right there. And I'll have to fight it in court to some degree, but they were in my house.
See, personally, I don't have to worry about that. I have a well-known or a well enough known name that nobody's going to be stupid enough to come and break into my fucking house.
You got the power of the bush.
When I say this, I mean, when I say this, I am dead set. People do not knock on my door uninvited.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Well, it don't happen. That's kind of how we are the same. I live in a what you would call a predominantly drug use area. It's getting a little better now, but I live in the monks. I've lived in the midst of tweakers and meth heads for for decades. And at one time or another, they could have robbed me blind, but they know not to because of my last name. But yeah, dude, that's the difference between our countries, and that's kind of, but that's what they use against us. That's why, when I brought up this stuff with Hollywood, and I decided, hey, we're going to do this because you got a good perspective of it because of what you know. Like you said, you know more than I do about the online world because you have a little more freedom than we do. You've seen what these people do. You've seen the pedophile networks. We know that politicians and actors are heavily, involved in this. And when they want you to feel bad for them when they're not making money, and then they want to try and create a narrative that this movie's bad because it's speaking out against pedophilia, you got a pretty good view on it. You got a good understanding of what I'm talking about. And then just the fact that they created this narrative of what was happening in Australia to the point that good friends have come to this disagreement over something that both sides feel very heavily about. I don't feel sorry for these people because they're the ones that cause these problems. And if they lose money, it might benefit me. We're seeing a whole new media rise up.
What I enjoy the most is the fact that I can sit here, I can talk freely about anything that happens over here, regardless of what people want to believe that they're saying. If people want to believe everything that they see and hear from one individual out of the 25 million people that we have here, guess what? That is their problem.
That's why they want to.
It doesn't affect me. If you want to sit here and you want to tell me that your country did this, this, and this, I'm going to sit here and say, well, I'll just wait for it to pop up on the news because we're no doubt going to see it. That is what it's like over here. We hear about everything. We read about everything.
Well,
we're not stupid. We're not blind to what is shown to us on the media. And we're not blinded by different people's opinions on how something may or may not have happened.
I feel like, in a sense,
brush it off.
That's why the old media and the old form of Hollywood's dying, because we have a better media with social media. Now, you got a lot of boomers that'll, that's of the devil. It's addictive. It's going to kill you. The way I look at it, you get addicted to talking and associating with people. And it's the same thing. We're communicating. The what?
I remember the last boomer I had a conversation with. I was wrong about everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a week later, they came and apologized.
They don't understand what we got here. This is more freedom than the old media. You used to have to turn on a channel, wait for the news, and you had to wait for what that guy told you. Now, if I want to tell you what's happening, or I can actually verify what's happening in Australia by talking to you versus what the news is telling me. So I can find information by talking person to person. They're scared to death of this because they don't have control. And that's why I don't feel sorry for them. And really, Hollywood needs to die. I'll be honest.
We hear about everything.
Yeah.
If there's a corrupt politician that's being caught out there doing the wrong thing, that's on the news. If there's a car accident down the road, that's on the news. Yeah. If somebody breaks into somebody's house, you guarantee you're going to hear about it on the news.
Well, you have access to.
We hear about everything. There is nothing that is blanked out on the news here.
Well, see,
literally nothing.
You're not having to fight for your freedom of speech as much over there as we are over here. That's our basic human rights, unalienable rights. Freedom of speech, right to bear arms, okay? Like you said, they have been keeping knowledge from people for years. They've been keeping people from communicating for years, and that's what they're freaking – that's what these – people don't realize. That's what these protests and and strikes are about. They can't control what the viewers are seeing anymore, and they want control of it because we're more interested in real life now. We get on social media, we talk to one another, we find out. Like I had a guy, he's like, how did you meet somebody from Australia? I said, being online, man. I mean, I said, I literally got a good friend that lives on the other side of the world in another time zone, and I would have never met him without. I would have never met you without social media. And I mean, that's the thing, man. This has been a good show. I'm about to have to.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. Like,
Yeah.
People neglect to, like, okay, they come on here, they talk their crap, they put up their crap. I seen this, I seen that, I did this and I did that, but they're neglecting the fact that information might not be completely open and honest in one place like it is in another place.
Yeah.
So 9 out of 10 times when somebody tells somebody from over here some bullshit that has been apparently happening over there, or something that hasn't happened over there, we've already heard about it. So if they twist the narrative, which a lot of people twist the narrative to suit their own fucking story, we've already heard of it. Like, what do you want us to do? Our news is not twisted up. It is straight down the fucking line. Oh, mass shooting over here, yada yada yada. Yeah. Person had some mental problems, whatever fucking happened. I don't care. It's not my backyard, so I don't give a fuck.
Well, a lot of things with the mass shootings is a narrative they control to get people to vote.
That's exactly right. Well, there's no fucking narrative over here. I'll tell you the same thing that everybody else in Australia will tell you. We have simple options. Do we vote for this dumbass or do we vote for this dumber ass?
Yeah. Well, again,
it's dumb or dumber.
They have abused their power for so long in the media that nobody cares, and now they're squalling. We're losing money, so they're trying to get litigations passed, they're trying to get laws passed, they're trying to stop social media, but it's the beast that got unleashed, and they're not going to put it back in the box. They're on a slow roll. I wouldn't be like, we've seen major news stations go down, because they can't afford to operate. Nobody watches them anymore. Dude, I'm about to have to get off. I got to get ready for work, but it's been awesome, man. I enjoyed this talk, dude. We're going to do this again, get back on it again. But
that's not a problem at all. And to answer that question, if Sky News Australia is okay, look, I don't watch Sky News myself personally, but you can guarantee that 95% of what you see on Sky News Australia is going to be the truth.
I like Sky.
I've just had a quick squiz at it myself, and it looks basically the same as just about any local fucking news crap that's on TV. So, mate, you better get your ass off here.
Yeah, take it easy, bud. You have a good one, man. We'll see you.
You need to go and get ready. Hurry up, fuck off. Because Justin's going to be like, you haven't made me enough money this week. No, you're right. All right, guys.
We'll see you, man.
Everyone.
Thanks,
mate.
Have a good one.
Nice actually talking for once.
Yeah, oh yeah. All right, man, that was good. That was Kevin, my buddy from Australia, in an undisclosed location because I don't know if he wants me giving it up. But that was kind of the topic today. This push for the sexualization of children in the media and in society. We're trying to go against that. Now that's something we both have a passion about on social media. Me and Kevin both. But it's good to have a good perspective from somebody that's seen what this stuff does in the dark web, the how these people operate. It's also good to see, we're talking about our media wanting us to feel sorry for them because they're not making enough money. The writers are not making enough money. You know what? Hollywood, this is a chance for y'all to save some more money. Go to Wattpad. Bunch of freelance writers putting stuff. Go to them. Get them to write. There's people that'll get outside that guild, start you a whole new guild, whatever. They did it with Uber. They did it with, they did it with what is that other, Airbnb. You can do it with writing. There's plenty of people that they have pushed out and told that they couldn't tell their story, that are telling their story on a platform now. Go get those. Go get those stories. Go to Audible. Look at those outside writers. They'll take that. They'll probably take way less money than these writers. You want new actors? Get on there and find these influencers. You want to save some money? Get rid of your big network of stuff. Use social media. That's my thing. They can cry all they want, but they've abused their power. You may like some of these actors. There's some of these actors I love watching good movies, but it's time to change it. They've been abusing their power. If you ever want to really see a change, folks, you got to be that change. It's time to tell them to quit their crying. Shut up and put up. Shut up and put up. I like what Angel Studios is doing. They are shutting up and they're putting up, and they're beating the box office. I'm going to go. I haven't seen this movie. I'm excited to see this movie. My wife may be going to watch it with the church. But yeah, folks, hey, it's time to get outside the box. It's time to take your life into your own hands and start getting prepared. Get ready. But that was the show. We're glad to have you in here. Go check the sponsors out. We'll be telling you about them here in a second. And also go check the website out, h29cast.com. That is where we have our main tabs page for all our sponsors. Go check them out. Y'all have a good one. We'll see y'all later. All right, folks, it's good to see you. We stopped the recording on the podcast. We had a good talk with Kevin. We tried to get him back on there again. We'll see y'all later. We'll see you, Kev. Oh Lord, we're gonna shut this clapper chat down. Kev's starting to get a little racy on there.